Hello, I'm Ian Alexander, and with me are choral conductor Morna Edmondson from Vancouver and author Kit Pearson from Victoria. And we're here together through the magic of Zoom to talk about the lost words. What is the lost words, you may ask? Well, it is a live, full-length, multimedia presentation that will be coming to Christchurch Cathedral in Victoria on Saturday, the 14th of June. And the Lost Words brings together words that Kit will read and that Elektra Morna's choir will sing along with an instrumental ensemble. And as well, there are beautiful, evocative visual images illustrating those words. So it's a wonderful concept, and it comes from a book. And I'm going to ask Kit and Morna to start by talking about the book on which The Lost Words is based. Kit, I think you've got a copy of it there in your study.
So this is the book. It's very large, as you can see.
Hmm.
It, it's a fascinating story. It started in about 2007 when the Oxford Junior Dictionary came out in a new edition, and they substituted words like voicemail and uh, email and computer words for words from nature like otter and kingfisher and bramble and dandelion. And they left out about 20 of those, 40, I think, of those words. And people in Britain, of course, were horrified. And about 10 years later, Robert Macfarlane, a very well known nature writer, teamed up with a wonderful illustrator, Jackie Morris, and they brought out this book, which has what he calls a spell, a poem that conjures up the essence of each of these creatures. And it's illustrated with these amazing illustrations of each one as well. And this book, I believe, has had an amazing influence on a rewilding movement to bring children back to nature. It's a book for children, it's a book for adults. I think it's especially a book for the two of them to share.
Mm.
Wonderful. Morna, how did you discover the Lost Words and what inspired you to turn it into a musical composition?
Right, right. Well, I am always on the lookout for wonderful texts for new commissions, and we've commissioned a lot of new music. And I think a friend planted it on her coffee table so that I would say, "Oh, what's this?" and pick it up. And I was just immediately struck by how playful and magical these words are, and the whole concept that by reading these out loud, you conjure back magically the word into our lives. And so I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound, I'm going to start figuring out, can we get permission to set these to music? So dealing with a literary agent in London who represents the author and the illustrator, we got permission, and then I tried to find the composers, the Canadian composers who would write this. And I couldn't stomach the thought of having to deal with 20 different composers for the 20 movements. So of the 40 words in the book, or 40 words that were taken out of the Junior Dictionary, this book contains 20 of them. So I thought, well, 10 composers I can handle, 5 women, 5 men, all Canadian. And I started looking at who I knew and who I sort of knew about and who would have a real sense of play with these words. Because it's one thing to write sort of big landscapes of sound. That's not at all what this book calls for. This book calls for sort of quick-witted, wonderful little turns of melody. So I went to these people and I said, get your hands on the book, write back to me and tell me your favorite 5 spells in order. And 6 of them got their first choice, and the other 4 got their second choice, and then everybody got another one on their list. And so I had this one day when I got to kind of play God and match everybody up with their, on a little bingo card kind of thing, match everybody up with their spells. And then they went off and composed the music. So it was just amazing receiving these things and learning them. We started learning it during the pandemic. But we produced the concerts after we were allowed to sing properly, again.
I want to hear a little more about how some of the composers approached the assignment, but maybe the best way to do that is to do it in the context of one of the poems. Is there one of the poems, Kit, that you'd like to share with us here today?
Yes, I'll share one of my favorites, which is Heron.
Mm.
So I'll show you the picture first. Wonderful. illustration of the heron.
Mm.
It's such an amazing watercolor. Yeah.
And by the way, we'll see those watercolor. You did get the permission
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah,
project the watercolors on the big
exactly.
screen in the
Yeah,
cathedral as you're performing the works.
yeah,
So, and we'll start in each case by hearing the text read,
correct.
and then we'll hear the performance of
Yeah.
its musical setting. So let's just hear that heron poem if we could, Kit.
Heron. Here hunts heron. Here haunts heron. Huge hinged heron. Gray-winged weapon. Eeked from iron and reeked from blue and beaked with steel. Heron. Statue seeks eel. Rock still at Weir Sill. Stone still at Weir Sill. Dead still at Weir Sill. Still, still at Weir Sill. Until eelless at Weir Sill. Heron magically unstatues. Out of the water creeks long legs heron, old priest heron. From here on in, all sticks and planks and rubber bands, all clanks and clicks and rusty squeaks. Now heron hauls himself into flight, early aviator, heavy freighter, and with steady wing beats boosts his way through evening light to roost.
Beautiful. That is one of my favorites as well, absolutely. And so the composer of that one is Katarina Gimmon, who lives in Vancouver and actually sings with Elektra. And as you're reading, I'm hearing the music in my head, of course. And I think it's fabulous that quite a few of these words, otter, dandelion, heron, are things that we in British Columbia can really identify with. And so I think we can all identify with the fact that those herons never seem to move. You know, they just sit there and we think, well, how long do they have to wait to catch something for their dinner? And so Katarina's setting is very sort of majestic and strong. And then that whole bit in the middle about rock still at Weir Sill, still, still at Weir Sill she just slows it right down to this beautiful sort of motionless bit. And then when he soars off into the evening light to roost, we get a really big flourish at the end. So she really hit the nail on the head. And her other one is Ivy, which is 3 lines long. Really fun. I told them all foolishly that they could use any percussion instruments they want. So she chose flower pots. So there are 4 flower pots, but they have to, when you hit them, they have to be the right note. So our percussionist, Katie Reif, went around to all the nurseries locally and with a chopstick or something and was hitting the flower pots. And so in Ivy, the percussionist is actually playing the flower pots tuned to the pitches of E and B as part of the texture of the sound. So it's really fun.
Fantastic. So the composers responded to
Yeah.
the inspiration of the texts and I presume looked at the images too, because they all
Yes, yes.
went
I told them to go
on
get the
top of each
book.
other.
Yeah, go get the
Absolutely.
book and look at it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Kit, as you were reading, I mean, it really feels to me that this is a spell book. It does conjure up. And you can imagine these texts appealing to young people, and yet they also have all kinds of wordplay and references that adults will pick up on as well. Yeah.
They're just marvelous poems. I
Yeah.
mean, they're so clever because each line is the beginning of the first letter of, like, there's a H, E, R. So Ivy is an only 3-line poem, for example, and I think the longest is Willow.
Right. Yeah.
And the alliteration, which is quite tricky to read sometimes, is just amazing.
Yeah.
The comparison of the heron to a sort of awkward, heavy plane.
Exactly. Held together with rubber bands and sticks and planks. And yeah, it's just such great imagery. Yeah. And we were really fortunate. We took this piece to England in June 2023 and performed it in Peterborough, Cambridge, and London. And Cambridge is where Robert Macfarlane lives. So he came and he was our reader. And it was so thrilling. And I'm sure it was a two-way thrilling experience because here we were meeting this man who had created the words and given us permission to do our project with it. But he walked into the rehearsal room while we were singing his words in a way that he'd never heard before. So we just have such lovely memories of that collaboration. And he was clearly, from the audience reaction when he walked on stage, kind of a superstar, which was really fun as well. Yeah.
Well, Kit Pearson's a bit of a superstar for us
Great.
here in Victoria and in Canada, Governor General's award-winning author.
Excellent.
Kit, have you done this kind of collaborative reading before? Have you worked in a context with musical forces before?
Again, at the cathedral with Peter and the Wolf.
Oh, great.
And I'm sorry, I can't remember the composer's name who came over from England. I mean, the organist who came over from England.
Yes,
But
yes.
that was actually much more difficult because I do read music a bit, but I had to insert the words in
Oh,
the right place.
right.
Precise timing, yes.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, we hear that, and I think what another thing that I think will be wonderful for people is to hear the subtlety of the text read verbally, and then hear the richness of
Exactly.
the musical setting that follows it. Well, so that performance in the UK was special, but Morna, this performance in mid-June in Victoria will be kind of special for you too.
It
Tell
is
people
going
about
to
that.
be very special. Well, first of all, I'll say that I've always thought that this piece and Victoria are just go hand in glove, with people's interest in nature and just the pace of life where one can stop and appreciate these things. I've always wanted to do this in Victoria. And this is my last season after 38 seasons at the helm of Elektra. The first 22 were co-conducting with Diane Loomer, and the last, whatever the math is, 15 or something, have been with me as artistic director. And so my final concerts are in Victoria at the end of, sorry, in Vancouver and South Surrey at the end of May. But Ian, when you and I started talking about, well, when could we bring the Lost Words over? It happened to be after my last concert. So the choir and I get one more day. I mean, the choir's going on. We have a new artistic director. It's got a bright future. But for me, the last chapter is this lovely trip to Victoria on June 14th.
We're
And
so glad. Yeah, Kit, go ahead.
I was privileged to be in Vancouver in March, so I heard the production of The Lost Words, and it's just amazing. It is so magical the
Thank you.
way Elektra sings this beautiful, evocative music.
And they love this music. I mean, they are so invested in it. Having learned it on Zoom during the pandemic, they had to work so hard. And then when we could finally sing together, everything just fell into place. And now we've done it in 2022, 2023, and now 2025. And yeah, and so they know it like the back of their hand, and they love it. And we're bringing over the instrumental ensemble that did it with us in Vancouver in March, and so that's wonderful. They all love the piece as well.
And we'll have a giant screen in the cathedral
Yeah,
to see the watercolors. So it's going to be
yeah,
quite an event. We're so looking forward to it. Thank you both for coming to tell people
my
about it. And
pleasure.
we hope that we know we'll see both of you, and we hope we'll see many of the people watching this video at the cathedral. So thanks very much.
Excellent. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's The Lost Words, a spell book. It will be at Christchurch Cathedral on Saturday, June the 14th. The performance is at 3 p.m. There'll be a pre-concert talk at 2:30. And if you go on the cathedral website now and just look for concerts and scroll down through the listings, you can click on The Lost Words and purchase tickets. We look forward to seeing you there. Morna, Kit, thanks again.
Thanks, Ian.